All right, Brian, Donald Trump is once again losing his mind over the Epstein files, and his surrogates have adopted a pretty desperate new tactic. So we're going to get into all of this today. Liberal Tears is brought to you by PDS Debt. Let's start with him crashing out on Truth Social. We're going to put a couple of these posts up on the screen. I'm not going to read all of it because there's just too much text. There's too many of these freak out posts. But here's the key point. Trump says, I will be asking AG Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement in relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan, Chase, is that supposed to be one person or two? And many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. So I guess my reaction is good, like investigate everyone and anyone, but that should include you, sir.
Yeah, there's this some weird notion by Trump that the left is gonna rally around Bill Clinton and like J.P. Morgan Chase.
Yeah, what if the whole bank?
The whole bank, as if like, but that really betrays his mentality. Like this is a team sport for him, and he's like, there's nothing that I could do that would make these people leave my side, and so if we go ahead and investigate Bill Clinton, we're going to turn this into like, just a regular D versus R fight, like everything else is a D versus R fight.
Mutually assured destruction.
And meanwhile, you've got the left that's saying like, go ahead,
investigate.
If anybody is implicated or involved with Jeffrey Epstein, fuck them. Like we don't need to defend any of these people. And I would challenge anybody in the Trump administration to be able to say the same. But clearly that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger issue here is Trump is projecting like he always projects. I mean, this is his biggest tell. When he chanted "lock her up" about Hillary Clinton, and then all of a sudden, Trump himself whined about the weaponization of government. When he complained about the Biden crime family and Hunter Biden.
Every accusation is an admission.
Every accusation is a confession.
It is so clear cut.
And so when Trump comes out and says, actually, it wasn't us, it was them, it was the Democrats, that's as clear an indication as you could possibly get that Trump is guilty of doing everything that he's accusing the Democrats of doing.
Yeah, and so the context here is this week, the House Oversight Committee released emails written by Jeffrey Epstein himself that said some of the following. In April of 2011, Epstein emailed Ghislaine Maxwell, his accomplice who's serving 20 years in prison, quote, I want you to realize that the dog hasn't barked yet is Trump. This phrasing is weird there. Redacted victim's name, spent hours at my house with him, Trump. He never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. So that's one email. In January of 2019, Epstein emailed a journalist named Michael Wolff to say, quote, of course he, Trump, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. So there's a lot of smoke here to investigate.
And what's interesting about this is that Trump takes to Truth Social and claims this is all a hoax. And so what's the hoax here? Democrats going back to 2011, making Jeffrey Epstein email Ghislaine Maxwell, where he says that Trump had been over Epstein's house with victims, just so that we would have dirt on him that we would not use until after he won his second term, and then release it in the middle of his second term. What are we even talking about?
The spin makes no sense. There's another email. There's a 2015 email from Epstein to a New York Times reporter that says, quote, ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused as he walked straight into the door. Side point, why can't this guy write a full sentence? These people cannot email for Larry Summers too is henpecking out weird staccato nonsense. Anyway, there's also a 2018 text from Epstein that says, quote, it's wild because I am the one able to take him down about Donald Trump. This was right before he went to prison and died in prison during the Trump administration. CNN reported that top administration officials at the White House had a Situation Room meeting with a member of Congress, with Lauren Boebert, I believe, to try to convince her not to sign the discharge position, which would force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. So they're going into overdrive to spin this and to try to prevent Congress from acting.
I'm curious about the Situation Room because that's garnered quite a bit of attention. Why do you think it was that if they needed to have this meeting, that they don't have it over the phone, they don't have it, even in the Oval Office, that they go into the Situation Room? Talk for a second about the significance of going into the Situation Room versus any other location.
Well, I mean, really the only reason I could think that you would want to sit there versus, I don't know, a conference room would be that you can't bring any electronic equipment into the Situation Room, so no one's going to record it.
Yeah.
So
why might it be important that meeting not be it recorded, Tommy?
Yeah, because they're also bugging Nancy Mace, trying to get her not to sign the discharge petition. So basically, they know they are asking these Republican members of Congress to do something that is immoral, unethical, and politically devastating that shows, as you said at the top, that every accusation is an admission of guilt. But here we are.
But the bizarre part is, if this is all a hoax, then release the files to negate everything that's floating around in the ether right now.
One would think.
You can't both call it a hoax, but then also suppress all of the files, the hundreds of thousands of documents that would presumably absolve you.
Right. Total exoneration, sir. Interesting. Okay. Also, remember so Trump is hiding from the press this week. He's trying to avoid getting questions about Epstein. But remember, the spin from his surrogates has gone into overdrive. We're going to play you guys a few examples. But first, here's just a quick reminder of how Trump's biggest defenders, including some who are now in his cabinet, once talked about Jeffrey Epstein.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. Why is the FBI protecting the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list?
Some governments around the world may have some material that's related to the Epstein thing. Bill Clinton was knee deep in this, man.
He was knee deep. Yeah, you got to release it. Now what? What changed? They literally campaigned on this. It was part of the platform of MAGA.
So that was J.D. Vance, vice president, the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, some very senior people now in the Trump administration, all telling us how they are going to release the Epstein files. And why wouldn't you release them, as Kash Patel said? Because you are covering up for the people who committed the crimes. But the biggest Trump apologists have now changed their tune. Here's one clip from Megyn Kelly.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh, no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Okay, let's first of all, 15 is not barely legal. It's very, very illegal. And there's reports of Epstein victimizing people girls as young as 13 or 14. Those are children. That is statutory rape. Technically, I think what the point Megyn is trying to making is like the lexical definition of the word pedophile refers to like prepubescent children. Yeah, but she later says she raised it because in the press conference, Pam Bondi suggested there was child pornography in Epstein's hard drives. But like, for the love of God, Megyn, zoom out and listen to yourself. Listen to what you're defending.
Like going out there and saying technically it's not pedophilia, it's ephebophilia is not the dunk that you think it is.
Nope.
And also, it's a complete straw man. No one is accusing Jeffrey Epstein of raping 8-year-olds. It's raping minors. But like, who cares what the distinction is between 8 and 13 or 16? It's all illegal. It's all depraved. It's all disgusting. Yep. And what are we doing here?
What are we doing here is the question. I saw people on Twitter calling her Megyn R. Kelly.
I know.
pretty good. And again, the emails released this week were from Epstein's estate. They were obtained from Epstein's lawyers pursuant to a subpoena from the House Oversight Committee. These documents are separate from the criminal files being held by the DOJ that Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and everybody pledged to release after the election. So the point is DOJ is sitting on way more evidence, and we'd all like to see it.
Right. I think it's worth noting that it's very likely the DOJ has these emails included as part of their massive compilation of all of the documents that they've been holding. And so when Mike Johnson and these other Republicans come forward and say the whole effort to release the Epstein files via this discharge petition is moot because of the Epstein estate documents that are already being released, it's like that's just a tiny trove of what they've got. And in reality, this and hundreds of thousands of other documents are contained within the DOJ's documents, but the DOJ won't release it. And so thank God we've got the Epstein estate that's releasing these documents, but that doesn't negate the fact that we still need to see what's in the broader files.
Yeah, and it's just a giant cover-up. And also, you keep hearing Republicans say, if there was anything in these documents that was really bad, the Biden DOJ would have released them, right? And my response to that is the following. First of all, have you heard of Merrick Garland?
Yep.
He was slow. He was cautious. His selection was a giant mistake.
And he was more focused on preventing the optics of politicization than actually pursuing justice without fear or favor.
Exactly, yes. Biden did not use the DOJ to go after his enemies. That's a Trump thing, so that's different. So also, Ghislaine Maxwell's case was still open during the Biden administration. She wasn't convicted until 2021, and then she appealed. Opening up those files while this case was ongoing is legal malpractice, and they weren't going to do that.
It would undermine their ongoing investigation. That's why normally, far from releasing the files contained regarding the investigation, the DOJ normally doesn't even talk about this stuff. Now, not only does the DOJ talk about it, they vomit out unconfirmed information the second that it passes their Twitter feeds.
Yeah, exactly. Kash Patel just tweets out everything, and then he's wrong over and over again.
And by the way, even if he was correct, it would undermine the ongoing investigation and taint the jury pool. And there's again, a reason that they don't do this.
Liberal Tears is brought to you by PDS Debt. The system isn't broken, it's rigged. And if you're buried in debt, that's exactly how they want it. Big banks profit when you're desperate. Creditors win when you lose, but you don't have to play their game. PDS Debt helps you take back control. They've helped hundreds of thousands break free from credit cards and loans. It's your money, it's your future, time to fight for both. PDS Debt goes beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and crafts you a personalized plan that is designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you, to save more, to pay off your debt faster, and to start putting money back where it belongs, in your pocket. PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. Look, we've all had that horrible experience when you've overdrawn your account or your credit card bill comes through and it is so much bigger than you expected, and you think to yourself, how am I ever possibly going to pay this off? PDS Debt will work with you to figure out a plan and set up a process so that you can pay down your debt and finally get financial freedom. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/rank. That's pdsdebt.com/rank, pdsdebt.com/rank. All right, our next propagandist is Fox News' Jesse Waters. This is a quick clip from a very long segment defending Trump on Epstein from his show Thursday night. Let's watch.
Congress is playing games, holding fake votes to drop more files. But that's not going to happen because it's up to a judge, and they won't release grand jury testimony. This is now looking more and more like a ploy to divide Republicans and smear the president. For a party that claims to care about affordability, they sure waste a lot of time on old emails.
So that sound you hear is Hillary Clinton's head exploding all the way from wherever she is, Chappaqua,
from the woods,
somewhere.
From the woods.
Yeah. So Jesse is a troll. He probably chose that phrasing on purpose to trigger people. But like, this is basically Trump's spin too. Trump is like, why are you guys talking about the past? Let's talk about the past that I want to talk about, like the 2020 election, or like Joe Biden's auto pen, or Bob Mueller and how the Mueller report hurt my feelings. But it's ludicrous.
Also, this notion that the Democrats are distracted with the Epstein files to be able to talk about accountability. Republicans have full control of government. They have the House, the Senate, the White House. They ran on affordability. Not only have costs gone up, not only are people's healthcare costs going up, not only is food assistance effectively disappearing. But all the while, what is Trump focused on? Building a $350 million ballroom, encrusting his Oval Office in gold, buying a couple of Gulfstream jets for Kristi Noem, retrofitting a new Qatari jet to the tune of $1 billion paid for by American taxpayers, hosting Gatsby parties, doing crypto dinners where he doubles his net worth. And it's the Democrats that are not focused on affordability. There's nothing stopping the Republicans from enacting their affordability agenda. They can't get out of their own way of surrounding dear leader Donald Trump with more gold and more opulence in the Oval Office.
But what about your emails, Democrats? Finally, Brian, let's hear from America's dumbest plagiarist and propagandist, Benny Johnson.
I guess we should start, ladies and gentlemen, with the biggest backfire, which is the claim that Donald Trump was spending hours with one of the Epstein victims. Oh boy, very naughty here. Goodness gracious.
So that's a weird, very, very weird clip. He's always kind of like doing like a low-rent Tucker Carlson impression too. So what Benny was talking about here, so he goes on to say that Democrats should be sued for releasing these documents, and this is why. So the House Oversight Committee, on a bipartisan basis, had agreed to redact the names of any victims in these files. That is obviously the right thing to do on moral and ethical grounds. Democrats did as much when they released these 3 emails on Wednesday, but Republicans then broke that rule by releasing an unredacted copy of Epstein's emails to show that the victim that was hanging out with Donald Trump for hours was a woman named Virginia Giuffre. They think that absolves Trump because Giuffre has previously said she never personally witnessed Trump abuse any minors. She did not think that Trump participated in Epstein's crimes, but she didn't know for sure, right? She wasn't with Donald Trump all the time.
Yeah.
But Brian, so these emails, though, they still prove the following. One, Epstein and Trump were extremely close. Trump hung out at his house all the time, including with victims. 2, Trump spent hours with an underage victim and apparently said nothing to the police or anyone else about it. Remember when Speaker Johnson tried to tell us that Trump was an FBI informant against Epstein for like 24 hours before he backpedaled? 3, we know Trump is a liar when he says he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Epstein himself said he was never actually a member of Mar-a-Lago. And then 4, Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche that Trump never went to Epstein's house. We now know that she lied in this most recent sworn testimony.
Right, and that's what I want to talk about here. So if Ghislaine Maxwell did lie to Todd Blanche, deputy director of the DOJ, then why is she still at this cushy, lower security prison out in Texas? It's also worth noting that, like, this is what the cover-up looks like. When you have Ghislaine Maxwell, who goes in, absolves Donald Trump by lying in documents that presumably the DOJ already has in their possession. Shouldn't Todd Blanche have been in a position to be able to say something? Why have we not heard from the DOJ about the fact that she lied? Why is she still reaping the rewards of the benefits that were conferred onto her by offering up this lie?
Yeah, it really shows what a terrible job Todd Blanche did interviewing this criminal who's serving 20 years because she obviously perjured herself and he just apparently didn't have that information or didn't follow up. And again, the broader context for viewers who might not know this, Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general, he flew down to interview Ghislaine Maxwell. She said a bunch of stuff that helped Trump politically. She got then moved to a minimum security prison in a different state where she's getting special treatment like custom meals. The warden personally arranged for Maxwell to meet privately with family members. Her guests are allowed to bring in electronics. She was allowed to go to the exercise room by herself and work out alone. So she's getting the sweetheart deal as she prepares to ask Trump reportedly for a commutation.
Yeah, I mean, what? I don't know how much more obvious all of this could get.
It's a crazy cover-up.
It's bargain basement, it's bargain basement like Coverup 101. All of this is it's so clear what everybody's doing. It's so clear what everybody's job within this whole process is, whether it's Trump's former criminal defense attorney, Todd Blanche, who's now working at the DOJ, whether it's Trump himself, whether it's Ghislaine Maxwell. Everybody can very clearly see the writing on the wall. Everybody can very clearly see the fact that they are engaged in a large-scale cover-up of the biggest pedophile ring in American history.
Yeah, and it's horribly depressing. It's like Kash Patel, Dan Bungie, they went in, they claimed to be principal defenders and care about this issue, and now they are participating in the cover-up. And even little shits like Benny Johnson at TPUSA, he pretended to be mad about Trump's handling of the Epstein files and the cover-up early on, but now he has got his sheet of music and he's singing from it, and he's a participant from the outside.
Yeah, and I think, I think the important thing is for Trump supporters out there, for these people who voted based on this idea that the Trump administration was going to be some champions for exposing, the corruption that happens even in the most dark, depraved corners of the universe, like the Epstein situation is. They played you for fools. They did all of this so that they could get your votes, knowing full well, Trump participated in fanning the flames as it relates to Epstein. He spoke about this on more than one occasion. And so he knew full well what his involvement was. It's not like he didn't know that he was at Epstein's house. It's not like he didn't know that he, was with these victims, as it says in those emails. And yet he just said whatever he needed to say, completely duped the rubes in his base because he needed something from them. And now that he's got it, he's just doing the polar opposite of what he promised to do.
I guess I'll have to get my news someplace else than Benny Johnson going forward.
Well, look, I mean, that brings us to the broader point of you can see the extent to which right-wing media is beginning to coalesce around these talking points, depraved though they may be. And so, if there was ever a reason to make sure to elevate the voices in the left of center ecosystem, this is it. Because, the reality is that the Republicans will not stop until they can turn everybody over and kind of get them on the whole Trump talking point train. Yeah. So for everybody watching right now, if you're not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, we're going to put the link on the screen. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to build up this ecosystem of progressive voices so that we can counteract the pretty disgusting things happening on the right.
Yeah, and please subscribe to Ryan Tyler Cohen on YouTube as well, and unsubscribe from Benny Johnson if you're watching that crap, because whew.